Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for Tuesday, June 24th, if you're joining me for the very first time. First of all, welcome, and second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over my core picks, which is going to be 5 players in total, 1 pitcher, 4 hitters. That's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. After that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Tuesday's slate overall. In the morning, I'll be listing an early morning weather report that will have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And then throughout the afternoon and early evening, I'll be posting as many of these starting laps as I can get to. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down in that comment section so that you do have the most up-to-date information as possible. But without further ado, we'll get right into it with the core picks. We're going to start off at that pitcher position with Garrett Crochet of the Boston Red Sox. He's $10,800. He is the most expensive starting pitcher on the slate, and for good reason. He's had a really strong season so far, averaging 43 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Los Angeles Angels. Looks like a pretty attractive matchup for him overall. And he does have decent but pretty limited history versus them in the past. He didn't pitch against them in 2024. If we look at what he's done so far in the season, 7 wins, ERA is at 2.2. Once again, averaging 43 fantasy points per game at $10,800. I will mention, though, there are a lot of good, attractive pitchers here on today's slate, so definitely feel free to mix and match as you do see fit, especially as you're building out a lot of different stacks from your hitter perspective at the same time as well. So we're going to move down to our hitters. We're going to start off with Yandy Diaz at first base. He's $3,100, averaging just over 10.5 fantasy points per game. He's going against the Kansas City Royals. Their expected starting pitcher is Kris Bubic. He's done very well versus Bubic in his career. He's 4 for 5 with 1 home run. He's currently on a 13-game hitting streak. He has 10 multi-hit games during that time span, 4 home runs, 8 double-digit performances, and he has 9 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So definitely do like the floor and the potential upside in Yandy Diaz in this matchup just in general. And if we look at what he's done so far in the season, he's got that 282 batting average, 12 home runs, 44 RBIs, once again averaging just over 10.5 fantasy points per game at $3,100. Looks like a really interesting one-off play just in general. I know Kris Bubic has pitched pretty well this season, but Yandy Diaz does have that history versus him in the past. Then we move down to second base with Luis Arraez. You can definitely play him at first base at the same time as well if that's something you really want to do. He comes in at $2,800, averaging just under 9 fantasy points per game. Goes against the Washington Nationals. Trevor Williams, the expected starting pitcher for them. It's fared pretty well versus Trevor Williams in the past, 7 for 18 with 1 home run. And if we look at what Luis Arraez has done as of late, he's currently on a 9-game hitting streak, 3 multi-hit games during that time span, 0 home runs, 2 double-digit performances, 5 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher, and that does not include Monday night's games since he still is playing at the time of this recording. So hopefully he continues with that hit streak on Monday night and continues that into Tuesday at the same time as well. But he's currently at a 279 batting average, 3 home runs, 29 RBIs, once again averaging just under 9 fantasy points per game at $2,800. Then we're going to move down to third base with Austin Riley. He's $3,300, averaging just over 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He is going against the New York Mets. The expected starting pitcher for them is going to be Frankie Montas, coming off that injured list, making his first start of the season. Austin Riley is 1 for 2 with 1 home run versus Frankie Montas in his career. He is currently on a 5-game hitting streak that does include Monday, even though Monday night's game is not over at the time of this recording. 0 multi-hit games during that time span, 1 home run, and he does have 3 double-digit performances during that 5-game hitting streak at the same time as well. So definitely do like the upside that he could potentially have. Obviously, the history versus Frankie Montas, not too long there, but should be a really favorable matchup for him just in general. And he's currently at a 272 batting average, 12 home runs, 40 RBIs, once again averaging just over 10 fantasy points per game at $3,300. And then on the opposite end of that game, we're going to go with Brendan Nimmo. He's at $3,100, averaging just over 10 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Atlanta Braves. Spencer Strider is the expected starting pitcher for them. He's actually pitching a little bit better as of late. But Brandon Nimmo has done really well versus Spencer Strider in his career. 9 for 19 with 2 home runs versus Spencer Strider. He's currently on a 6-game hitting streak. 3 multi-hit games during that time span, 2 home runs, 2 double-digit performances, and 3 games of at least 9 fantasy points. If you include Monday night's game, 4 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher. Still has a chance to get double digits as we are recording this video. But if we take a little bit further look at what he's done so far in the season in totality, 254 batting average, 15 home runs, 41 RBIs, and currently averaging just over 10 fantasy points per game at $3,100. So definitely do like the upside of Brandon Nimmo, what he's been able to show as of late and in his career versus Spencer Strider, which makes him a pretty interesting one-off play just in general. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that do currently have listed here, you have $11,900 remaining, just under $3,000 remaining per player. So kind of get a little bit creative the rest of the way. You could go a balance build. You could pay down at a couple spots and pay up at some other spots. A lot of different ways that we can approach this slate overall. And once again, you do not need to play all 4 of these hitters together. Obviously, stacks will play a pretty big role, especially if you're going out and playing in GPPs just in general. Once again, feel free to mix and match at the pitcher position. A lot of good pitchers out there at the same time as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Tuesday's slate overall. So we are going to start off with the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're going against Chicago White Sox. Tyler Alexander is their expected starting pitcher. They've done pretty well versus him in his career. Obviously, Tyler Alexander did start the year with the Brewers, got cut, and ended up on the White Sox, kind of filling in as the starter now. Probably not going to pitch too deep in that game, so you could get that Chicago White Sox bullpen, which a lot of their better relievers are banged up at this point in time at the same time as well. And then we move over to the Atlanta Braves going against Frankie Montas, making his first start of the season, coming off of the injured list. He had not pitched well on rehab assignments, so definitely a lot of opportunities there, although the Braves do have some pretty limited history versus him in the past. And then we move over to the Milwaukee Brewers going against Andrew Heaney. Most of their hitters have hit him pretty well in the past, so definitely do like the upside there as well. And then last but not least, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers going out to Coors Field, going against Germán Marquez. Hit or miss history versus Marquez in the past, but definitely do like that upside out at Coors Field and would expect the Dodgers to be a really popular stack overall. But with that being said, that's what I do have in terms of my core picks as well as top GPP teams to stack for Tuesday, June 24th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then once again in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report that have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And I will be posting as many of the starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down in that comment section, especially as we do get closer to lock. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos, typically Monday through Friday. This week there will not be a Thursday video. It's a weird slate just in general. I know I've been missing a couple of the Thursday slates as of late, especially with CFL DFS coming out, so definitely won't have it this week, but hopefully moving forward we'll be able to have it on Thursdays again as well. And then with that being said, my CFL DFS video is coming out once a week. That typically comes out on Wednesdays, so definitely I'll look out for that at the same time as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Parlay Play, and Prize Picks. If you're a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. I'd be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS for Tuesday, June 24th.